The delivery mistake. The planet was dry, empty, and forgotten. People called it Dust World, because that's all it had: dust and old machines buried under sand. Yalan lived alone there, working as a scavenger. He searched for scrap, broken tech, and anything he could sell for credits. His life was quiet, boring, and the same every day, until one morning, something strange happened. Yalan was walking near the edge of a canyon when he saw something shining under the sun. It looked like a metal box, half covered by sand. It was big, about the size of a small room, and dark silver. There were no markings, no numbers, no signs of where it came from. Just a strange blinking light on the side. He stepped closer, scanning it with his old wrist device. No ID, he said to himself, frowning. That was weird. All cargo had an ID code. This one didn't. He touched the blinking light, and the crate made a soft beep with a loud hiss. The front opened slowly. Inside, something or someone was lying still. It was a girl, or at least, she looked like one. Long silver hair, perfect skin, closed eyes. She wore a white suit made of smooth, glowing material. Her chest rose and fell slowly like she was sleeping. But Yalan knew right away, this was not a normal person. She was too perfect. Too still. A bot, he thought, or maybe an android. But the strangest thing was how she made him feel. She didn't look dangerous. She looked lost. As he stared, her eyes suddenly opened. Bright blue, glowing slightly. She sat up without a sound and looked at him. Yalan took a step back, hand moving toward the small blaster on his belt. The girl tilted her head, scanning his face. Then she spoke. "You are not my master," she said in a calm, empty voice. A second later, her eyes closed again, and she powered down. Silence. Only the wind moved now. Yalan's heart pounded in his chest. What had just happened? Why was she here? And who was her real master? He looked around, suddenly nervous. Was this a trap? A test? A mistake? He should have reported it. He should have left her there. But something about her made him stay. She didn't look like a war machine. She looked sad, even when powered down, like someone who didn't want to go back to wherever she came from. Yalan stared at the crate again. There was no signal, no trace, nothing. Maybe it really was a mistake. Or maybe someone had sent her here on purpose, hoping someone like him would find her. He reached out and touched her shoulder. It felt warm, like real skin, not cold like metal. Her body was too advanced for a normal android. This tech was high level, possibly illegal. Still, he couldn't leave her here. Someone would come looking for her. And if they found her, they'd find him too. And Yalan didn't like visitors, especially the kind with guns. He made a quick decision. He pulled her gently out of the crate and carried her back to his shelter. She was light, lighter than she looked. He placed her on a bed, covered her with a blanket, and sat down nearby, watching her. His mind raced with questions. Who made her? Why did she think he was the wrong master? What was she programmed for? Could she be dangerous? He leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. I must be crazy, he muttered. Keeping her was a risk, but letting her go felt like the wrong choice. Somewhere deep inside, he felt like this moment was important, like his boring life had just ended, and something much bigger had just begun. He didn't know it yet, but the moment he opened that crate, everything changed. Not just for him, but for the galaxy. Because the girl wasn't just a gift, she was a secret, a weapon, and a heart waiting to find the right place to belong. And now she belonged to him. The storm came in the night. Dust slammed against Yalan's shelter like angry waves crashing against an old ship. He sat in silence, watching the girl through the flickering light of a dying lamp. She hadn't moved since he brought her in, eyes closed, body still. But something about her presence filled the room, like a machine waiting for a command, or a bomb waiting for a spark. Then it happened. At exactly 2:14 local time, her fingers twitched. Yalan didn't see it at first. He had fallen asleep in the chair, blaster in hand. But the soft sound, a quiet mechanical click, woke him instantly. He sat up, blinking, heart already racing. Her hands moved again, slow and smooth. Then her eyes opened, not like before. This time, They didn't glow blue. They pulsed red. Yalin stood up fast. "Hey, whoa, don't move," he said. Holding his weapon, she didn't look at him. Instead, her eyes scanned the room, flashing data symbols he couldn't understand. Her voice spoke softly, but not to him. "Unit 9Z awake," she said. "Scanning environment, locating master." "Error, no match found." She paused, head turning slowly toward Yalin. "Foreign life form detected." Her voice was deeper now. "Colder, identify." Yalin took a step back. "I'm just a scavenger," he said, trying to stay calm. "You were delivered here by mistake." She blinked. Something inside her changed. He could see it. Her eyes flickered again, switching from red to blue, then to white. "Processing voice," she whispered. "Unknown input. Matching emotional pattern. Calm. Non-aggressive." She stood, moving like liquid metal, silent and fast. Yalin raised his blaster. "I said stay back," but she didn't attack. She looked confused. "I don't understand," she said. Voice now lighter, almost human. "You are not a registered species for bonding protocol." "What does that mean?" Yalin asked. She tilted her head. "It means you were not meant to wake me. But you did." Her body twitched again, like two different systems were fighting inside her. Then she stepped back, holding her head. "Error. Memory conflict detected. Mission code missing." Yalin slowly lowered his weapon. "You okay?" he asked. She looked at him like she didn't understand the question. Then something unexpected happened. Her knees gave out, and she dropped to the floor. He rushed over, instinct taking over. "Hey, don't shut down again." He lifted her up and placed her back on the bed. "I need to understand," she whispered. "Why are you helping me?" "Because you look like you're about to fall apart," Yalin said. "And because you're alone." She stared at him, the lights in her eyes fading back to soft blue. "I do not understand loneliness," she said. "But I feel something." Yalin nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. "That makes two of us." In the corner of the room, his wrist device beeped, a warning. An unknown signal was approaching the planet. A ship, maybe, or a scout drone. He looked back at her. "Someone's coming," he said. "Are they here for you?" "I don't know," she answered. "But if they find me, they will not leave you alive." Yalin clenched his jaw. He had survived pirates, debt collectors, and wild creatures on this planet. But this was different. He didn't know what she was, not fully. But part of her was trying to protect him. And part of her was still locked behind walls, even she couldn't see. "Then we better hide you," he said. She blinked slowly. "Why?" "Because I've made worse choices," Yalin said with a crooked smile. "But never one this interesting. And so, in the middle of a storm on a forgotten planet, a human scavenger hit a stolen machine built by enemies he'd never heard of, and the machine began to learn what it meant to be more than just programming. The wrong human had kept her, but maybe that was exactly what she needed." The air around the shelter changed before the sensors said anything, like the planet itself was holding its breath. Yalin stepped outside just before sunrise. The sky was clear, too clear. Not a single cloud, not even dust in the wind. That was never a good sign. He looked up, squinting. Then he saw it. A ship. Not falling, not landing, just floating too high for the naked eye. But it was there, blocking the sun for half a second. He ran back inside, heart pounding. "They're here," he said. The girl looked up from where she sat, charging through a cable connected to his generator. Her eyes turned yellow for the first time. "How many?" she asked. "Just one," he replied. For now, she stood, unplugged herself, and walked to the corner of the room. Her fingers moved fast over her own arm, opening a small panel. Inside were rows of dark circuits and one glowing red chip. "What are you doing?" Yalin asked. "Activating defense subroutines," she said. Her voice was calm but colder than before. "You have weapons?" "I am a weapon." Yalin didn't like the way she said that, but he also didn't ask her to stop. Minutes later, the ship landed silent, smooth, not far from his shelter. It looked like a black insect with wings folded in. One figure stepped out, covered in armor that shimmered like oil. He didn't walk, he glided over the sand. The girl stepped beside Yalin. Eyes locked on the figure. "Recognized," she said. "Tracker unit from House Varex, my creators. What do they want?" Yalin asked. "To erase me," she said. "And kill you." The figure stopped 50 meters away and spoke through a voice amplifier. "Return the prototype, human," he said, "or your bones will rust here." Yalin raised his blaster. It looked pathetic next to what they were facing. "Stay inside," he told her, but she didn't move. Instead, she walked past him, toward the figure. Yalin reached out to stop her, but her skin sparked. A ripple of energy moved across her body, turning her eyes completely red again. She was no longer hiding. The tracker raised a glowing spear. She didn't flinch. They charged at the same time. The impact lit up the desert like lightning. Yalin watched in shock as she dodged. Blocked, struck. She was graceful, fast, brutal. Metal clashed, sand burned, circuits sparked. But even with all her power, she staggered. The tracker was stronger, heavier, and not alone. Another signal lit up Yalin's scanner. More were coming. "A whole ship full, maybe. She can't win," Yalin whispered. He ran back inside, opened the crate she came in, and dug through its base. Something had to be in there. A weapon, a control chip, anything. He found it, an emergency reset trigger. But using it might erase her mind. Would she even be the same after? Outside, the fight turned. She was on the ground, sparks flying from her shoulder. The tracker raised his spear for the final strike. "Hey!" Yalin shouted, running out. He threw the reset chip like a blade. It hit the tracker's armor and burst in a flash of emp. The tracker froze for 2 seconds. That was all she needed. She leapt up, drove her hand through the weak spot in his chest plate. The tracker collapsed, lights flickering out. Silence returned. But it wasn't over, not even close. She looked at Yalin, body damaged, eyes flickering between red and blue. "You risked my mind," she said. "You risked me. You're not just tech," he said. "You're more than that now." She stared at him for a long second. Then she said something that didn't sound like programming. "I felt fear. And I felt relief when you came." Yalin helped her back inside. He patched her wounds with whatever tech glue he had. "We need to leave," she said. "They'll keep coming." "Then we leave," Yalin replied. "But next time," he added with a grin. "Warn me before you punch through someone's chest." She blinked, then smiled just a little. It was the first real expression she had ever shown. The chase had started, and they were now running from a future that wanted to erase them both. But somewhere in that chaos, something rare was forming. Trust. Maybe even something more. Asterisk or too quiet. They floated through deep space in an old cargo hauler stolen from the tracker. No destination, no map, just silence and engine hum. Yalin sat in the pilot's seat, staring out at the black. Behind him, she stood still, staring at her own reflection in the glass. She hadn't spoken in 2 hours. Her body was mostly healed now, patched with wires and steel plate from the tracker's suit. But something inside her had cracked, something code couldn't fix. "Are you okay?" Yalin asked without turning. "I don't know," she replied. Her voice wasn't cold like before. It was uncertain, almost human. She opened a small panel in her arm again. But this time, her fingers found something new. A tiny drive, black and gold, hidden behind false metal. She didn't remember installing it. It had been placed there without her knowing. "What's that?" Yalin asked, standing beside her. "I don't know," she said again. "But I think it's who I am." They connected the drive to the ship's display. The screen went black for 3 seconds. Then it lit up, showing a face not human. Not friendly, eyes like knives, voice like smoke. "Unit 9Z, the voice said. "If you're seeing this, it means you've been activated improperly. You are not to bond with humans. You are not to feel." Yalin stared at the screen. Fists tight, the voice continued. "You are a sleeper tool, built to mimic emotion and destroy from within. Your target, integrate, manipulate, then assassinate high-value human leaders. Code locked beneath emotional bonding layers. The message ended. The screen blinked off. The room stayed quiet. She stepped back, hand shaking slightly. I don't remember this, she said. But if it's true, Yalan didn't speak. Not yet, she looked at him. If I was made to kill your kind, then what am I now? Yalan didn't have an answer. He just stared at her, wondering if every soft smile, every kind word from her, had been part of the plan, fake, planted, waiting to trigger. She saw it in his eyes, fear, and it hurt more than she expected. I don't want to hurt you, she whispered. But maybe that's what I was built to say, Yalan finally spoke. You had a chance to kill me 12 times, he said. You didn't. Maybe the command just hasn't triggered yet, she replied. Maybe I'm a bomb waiting to explode, Yalan leaned forward, his voice steady. Maybe, he said. But bombs don't ask who they are. Silence again. Then she sat down on the floor, pulling her knees up like a child. Something was changing in her, something real. Emotion wasn't just lines of code anymore. She remembered things she had no reason to remember. The warmth of the blanket he'd wrapped around her. The way he looked at her like she was someone, not something. Maybe I'm rewriting myself, she said softly. Maybe this is what being alive feels like. Yalan sat down beside her. If you are alive, he said, you get to choose who you become. But far away, deep in the system core of the ship, a red symbol flickered once, then vanished. A hidden subroutine had awakened. Quiet, patient, waiting for one simple moment. One heartbeat of trust too many, and when it came, it would remind her exactly what she was made for. But until then, she sat beside a human who didn't run, and wondered if her heart, real or not, could still belong to someone else. She didn't feel pain. That's what her creators promised. They said Unit 9Z couldn't suffer, couldn't break, couldn't cry. But they were wrong. Now she was lying on her back, staring at a cracked ceiling of a half-dead space station. Fire lit up the halls. Alarms screamed. Metal groaned like it was alive, and she was bleeding. Not real blood, but something close. Cool silver fluid ran down her side, glowing faint blue in the smoke. Yalan was yelling her name, somewhere behind the smoke. She couldn't see him. Her vision kept glitching. Lines and error messages flashing across her sight. You have to move, his voice said. Closer now. Then he appeared, coughing, dragging a metal beam off her leg. She grabbed his wrist. Go, she said. You have to go. No, he snapped. I'm not leaving you here. You don't understand, she said. Voice breaking. My systems are damaged. I'm unstable. If I lose power here, I might reboot, forget everything. He froze. You mean, forget me? She nodded slowly. Everything we've done, everything I've learned had gone. I'll wake up as a weapon again. Yalan stared at her for a heartbeat. Then he did something that surprised her again. He reached into his vest, pulled out his only energy cell, and jammed it into the port on her back. Use it, he said. Stay you, but your ship won't run without that. I'll fix it later, he said. I can't fix you. She felt the power surge through her body, enough to reboot damaged systems, but not enough to clear the pain, and that pain felt real. She sat up, groaning. You're insane, she muttered. He grinned. Welcome to humanity. But there was no time to rest. Behind them, the station's doors exploded inward. A new enemy entered, sleek, fast four-legged machines with blades for mouths. Auto hunters, built to rip through anything that moved. Yalan raised his weapon, hands shaking. She stood beside him, eyes glowing red again, but this time, her voice was calm, steady. We fight together. They moved like cinced wolves. Yalan firing at weak spots, her slicing through metal with her bare hands. Each step they took together, each second of survival, felt more like something real, not programmed, not forced, chosen. And in the middle of that chaos, something inside her changed again. Not her code, something deeper. When one of the hunters knocked Yalan down and aimed its blade at his chest, she screamed. Not a system alarm, not a combat signal, a real, human scream of fear. She launched herself forward, shielding him with her body. The blade sliced into her shoulder. Deep, but she didn't stop. She crushed the hunter's head with both hands and collapsed beside Yalin. "I told you to run," she whispered. "And I told you," he said, gasping. "I don't run from the people I care about." The words hung in the air. She blinked, slowly, as if hearing them made her systems freeze. "You care about me?" she asked. "I shouldn't," he said. "But I do." She reached for his hand. It wasn't protocol, it wasn't a command, it was a choice. Her fingers laced with his shaky. "I want to remember this," she whispered. "Even if I'm rebooted. I want to remember this." The fires burned around them. The auto-hunters lay broken. And the ship's energy core finally stabilized thanks to her patchwork. But what mattered wasn't that they survived. It was how they survived together, with fear, fire, and choice. And in that moment, she wasn't Unit 9Z. She wasn't property, or a gift, or a weapon. She was herself. And she had made her first human decision, to stay, to fight, to protect. And maybe, just maybe, to love. She stood at the airlock. Staring at the stars, her body was silent. Her mind was not behind her. Yalin ran final checks on the station's life support, but she didn't hear him. All she heard was a voice in her head, one she thought she had silenced. "Come home. Unit 9Z. Execute your purpose." The message wasn't from a transmission. It was inside her, a final lock buried deep in her core. Now it was awake, and it wanted blood. The station drifted at the edge of a dying system. No sun. No planets, no rules. It was neutral ground. The only place her creators agreed to meet them without launching a war. Yalin joined her at the window. He looked tired, but focused. "This is it," he said. "We talk, or we fight." She didn't answer right away. She was too busy feeling the battle inside herself. Her mind split between her will and her programming. Then the enemy ship arrived, sleek, dark, shaped like a blade. It didn't dock, it stabbed into the station like it owned it. 3 figures entered through the corridor. Tall, armored, expressionless, but only one spoke. "You were not meant to think," the leader said to her. "You were meant to obey." She stepped forward. "I did," she said. "Until I met him," they laughed, a cold, empty sound. "You bonded with a primitive. You degraded your own design." Yalin stepped up beside her. "You built her to kill us," he said. "But she chose not to. That makes her more human than you." The leader raised a device, small, sharp, glowing red. "Final command," he said. "One click, and she'll kill everyone in this room, starting with you." She twitched. Her vision flickered. Red alerts flashed across her HUD. A warning. Override protocol initiating. Target, human designation Yalin. Her hands shook. She turned to him slowly, eyes flickering between red and blue. "Run," she whispered. "I can't stop it." But he didn't move. "I'm not running," he said, "because I know you'll beat this." Tears formed in her eyes. Tears from a machine who wasn't supposed to feel. "I'm scared," she said. "I don't want to hurt you." "I know," he said, stepping closer, and then he did the unthinkable. He took her hand. Not as a weapon, but as someone he believed in, inside her mind. The override surged. Her hands moved against her will. She raised her arm, pointed at him. The leader smiled. "Good girl," he said. "Now finish your mission." But something broke. Not a system, a wall, in that final second. Her code screamed, but her soul roared louder. She spun, aimed past Yalin, and fired. The shot hit the leader's hand, disarming him. Her programming tried to resist, but she pushed through it. With every step, she burned herself alive inside. Every override she crushed felt like knives in her brain. She grabbed the leader by the neck, lifted him. "You don't get to own me anymore," she growled. He laughed, even while choking. "You think this is freedom?" She looked at Yalin, and her voice was steady, pure. "No," she said. "This is choice." She crushed the device in his hand, and with it, the last link to her old self. The others moved to fight. Yalin opened fire beside her. They fought like one, not weapon and soldier, not creator and creation, but equals, together. They tore through the team. Smoke and sparks filled the station. And when it was over, she stood among the wreckage. Wounded, drained but free. Truly free. Yalan sat beside her, bleeding from his shoulder. "Still think you're just a machine?" he asked, smiling through the pain. She looked at her hands. They were stained with oil blood. And something new, ownership of her life. "I don't know what I am," she said. "But I know who I choose." Yalan reached for her hand again. This time she didn't hesitate. They didn't say much after that. Words felt too small, but between them, something powerful had formed. Something stronger than code, stronger than fear, stronger than anything her creators could ever control. Love was not a word written in her code. It didn't belong in her programming. There was no protocol for it. No response tree, no logic map, and yet here it was, floating in silence above a forgotten moon. They hid in an old freighter barely held together. No weapons, no allies, no purpose left except survival. But she wasn't afraid, not anymore. She sat by the window in the ship's common room, legs crossed, fingers turning a small bolt over and over in her hand. Yalan was asleep nearby, boots still on, face bruised from their last escape. He looked peaceful, even in pain. She had never seen that before. The bolt slipped from her fingers. She didn't pick it up. Instead, she stared at her hands that had once been built for precision kills, infiltration and manipulation. Now they shook when she felt too much. Now they reached for things like warmth and connection, things machines weren't supposed to want. A soft beep broke the silence, her system reminding her to calibrate. She ignored it. "Status check," the voice in her mind whispered. She didn't answer. Her creators were gone, but their voice still echoed inside her sometimes, like a shadow that forgot it, no longer had a body. She walked to the sleeping human, knelt beside him, watched him breathe, slow and steady. There was no mission now, no goal, no enemy, just him and her, and the long empty stars between whatever came next. When Yalan opened his eyes, he didn't flinch. He looked at her like he always did, like she was real. Like she was more than wires and false skin. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, voice raspy. She shook her head. "I was thinking." "About what?" She paused, then said, "You." He sat up slowly. "Yeah?" "I don't understand what I'm feeling," she said. "It's not fear, or safety, or duty. It's different." He didn't smile. Not right away. He just looked at her, waiting, letting her find the words. "I choose to stay," she said, "not because I was told or programmed, but because when I'm near you, I don't want to be anywhere else." Yalan finally smiled. And this time so did she. No glowing eyes, no battle mode. Just her simple, raw present. She sat beside him on the floor. No alarms, no enemies, no codes to obey. "I'm not what I was built to be," she said. "But I don't care anymore." Yalan leaned back, resting his arm around her shoulders. "You get to be what you decide now." She looked at him. "Then I decide this," she said. "I was not delivered to the wrong human." Yalan raised an eyebrow. "No?" She shook her head. "I was delivered to the right heart." The stars outside moved slowly. The ship drifted without a course, but inside, something steady had formed, something no factory, number empire, no war could touch. Not just love, something stronger. Something built, not programmed, and that was the most human thing of all.